Day started like any other, just me, Cameron, trying to grab some groceries, minding my own damn business. Then I felt it, a hand, heavy and unfamiliar, clamp onto my shoulder. My immediate thought wasn't hello, it was who the hell is touching me? I flinched, instinctively pulling away, shaking off the invasive grip. That's when I saw her. A woman, mid-50s maybe, with a hairstyle that looked like it time-traveled straight from a 1970s perm ad. Her face was already screwed into a scowl, lips thin, eyes sharp and accusatory. Before I could even ask what she wanted, she barked, "You're an a-hole, I've been calling you." I blinked. "Excuse me? I don't know you, and you shouldn't just grab strangers, lady." I tried to sidestep her, to just continue my shopping and pretend this bizarre interaction wasn't happening, but she wasn't having it. She lunged, grabbing my arm, her fingers digging in. "No, you don't walk away from me. You need to help me find them." "Hey!" I snapped, pulling hard. "Let go of my arm. I'm not an employee, and you need to stop putting your hands on people." My voice was rising, a knot of frustration already tightening in my chest. I really hate being touched by strangers, especially aggressive ones. She just tightened her grip, practically hanging off my arm now, and started screaming, a high-pitched, indignant wail. "You're assaulting me. Get me a manager. You're refusing to help a customer." My jaw dropped. The sheer audacity. "Lady, I'm a customer. Look, just stop touching me, all right? You're making a scene." I tried to pry her fingers off my wrist, but she held firm, her grip surprisingly strong. This was getting ridiculous. I could feel eyes starting to turn our way. My patience evaporated. With a surge of pure, unadulterated frustration, I yanked my arm back one last time. It was more of a desperate reflex than a deliberate action, a powerful pull to break free. Her hand, still clamped to my wrist, was caught in the momentum. Next thing I knew, there was a sickening thud as her hand slammed against a display shelf beside us, sending a cascade of brightly packaged snacks tumbling to the floor. She let out a piercing shriek, a genuinely painful-sounding wail that echoed through the aisle. "How you broke my hand, you monster! Get away from me!" I stared at her, then at the mess on the floor, then back at her. Her face was mottled red, tears springing to her eyes, and she was clutching her wrist dramatically. I just shook my head, muttering, "Unbelievable, this wasn't worth it." I just wanted to leave. Adrenaline buzzing, I half-walked, half-stomped away from the chaos, making a beeline for the checkout. I grabbed a king-size Reese's Pieces bar off a rack near the register, a small, desperate comfort for my rapidly declining sanity. I just needed to pay and get out. As the cashier scanned my candy, a different woman, who must have been watching the whole spectacle, marched up to me, already vibrating with self-righteous anger. You're that effing a-hole employee who hit that poor woman," she spat, pointing a finger. I held up my hands, palms out. Whoa! I don't work here. I'm just a customer." But it was too late. The earlier screaming had drawn a crowd, and now all eyes were on me. Murmurs, whispers, disapproving glares. I could feel the collective judgment, and it was suffocating. Just as I thought it couldn't get any worse, a man lumbered into the fray. He was burly, wearing a stained wife-beater, and had a face just as red and angry as the woman's, Karen's husband, I presumed. You hit my wife," he roared, pointing a thick finger at my face, his voice rumbling like an angry bear. "Dude, no!" She grabbed me, wouldn't let go, and then she slammed her own hand into the shelf when I pulled away. I tried to explain, but he was already past listening. "Don't you talk back to me, punk. You hurt my wife, you're gonna pay." He took a threatening step forward, raising his hand, clearly intending to slap me. My instincts took over. There was no time to think, no time to argue. I ducked his clumsy swing, feeling the rush of air where his hand would have connected. As he stumbled forward, off balance, I shot my leg out, aiming for his knee. There was a satisfying thud and a gut-wrenching scream as his knee buckled, and he went down like a sack of potatoes, clutching his leg and howling. The crowd gasped. I looked around, my gaze locking onto a store manager who had finally emerged from the back, eyes wide, looking utterly bewildered and useless. I desperately mouthed, "Can you help?" but he just stood there, frozen, like a deer in headlights. Nope, I thought, not my circus, not my monkeys. I threw my Reese's Pieces money at the cashier, grabbed my candy, and walked out the door. The screams of the man, the wails of the woman, and the stunned silence of the crowd fading behind me. My hands were shaking, my heart was pounding, but I was out, and I had a king-size Reese's Pieces bar. Small victories, I guess.
All right, the last story is wild, and it's not what you think. Before we get into it, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next round.
Okay, so picture this. I'm Julian, just trying to enjoy a damn burger. You know how some days you just crave that specific greasy, glorious deluxe burger combo with a Coke? Yeah, that was me. My friend and I hit up this casual spot, the kind where the staff wears white shirts and jeans, pretty much what I was rocking myself. Who doesn't love a classic white tee and denim, right? I just asked my friend to put in my order because my bladder has the worst timing, and was washing my hands in the restroom when I heard this clatter of chairs and a woman's shrill voice from the dining area. Before I could even finish drying, I felt two sharp, insistent taps on my shoulder. I turned, towel still in hand, to see this woman, middle-aged, tight bun, an expression that screamed, "I demand to speak to your manager," even before she opened her mouth. "Excuse me, mister?" she clipped, her voice already edged with impatience. "You need to take our order. We've been waiting forever."
I blinked. I'm not a waiter, I said, trying to be polite, gesturing vaguely at my half-dried hands.
She didn't even register it. Her eyes narrowed, and before I could react, she tugged on my shirt, pulling me back towards the tables. Not a gentle nudge, a full-on yank. I said, "I want you to take our order. What's so hard to understand?" My politeness evaporated. "Lady, I just told you I don't work here. I'm a customer, just like you." I tried to pull my arm free, totally weirded out by the physical contact. But she wasn't having it. She lunged again, grabbing a fistful of my shirt near my shoulder, clearly intending to drag me. I instinctively recoiled, trying to step away from her aggressive grip. That's when it happened. Her hand slipped on my shirt. Her feet somehow tangled, and she tumbled backwards with a surprised squawk, landing ungracefully on her backside amidst the chairs she'd just heard clattering. For a split second, there was stunned silence. Then, she scrambled up, red-faced, pointing a trembling finger at me. "How dare you push me?" she shrieked, her voice echoing through the now-silent restaurant. Heads whipped around. My friend, who'd just gotten up from our table, froze mid-step, eyes wide. A guy, presumably her husband, at a nearby table sighed, rubbing his temples. "Maybe she should just calm down, Carol," he muttered, sounding less like he was defending me and more like he'd heard this song and dance a million times. The air in the room was thick with tension. Everyone was staring, a silent jury. Before I could even stammer out a defense, her eyes darted to my back pocket. I always carry my sketchbook there. She snatched it out before I could even register what she was doing. "Aha!" she exclaimed, triumphantly flipping through the pages. "Why aren't there people's orders in here? It's all just drawings. What kind of waiter are you? Scribbling in a notebook instead of working?" My blood ran cold. That sketchbook wasn't just a collection of drawings. It was my personal journal, my ideas, my escapes. It was private, and she was desecrating it. "Give that back," I roared, a primal anger rising in my chest. "Give me my sketchbook." She held it away from me, a smirk on her face. "Oh, I'll get you fired, mister. Just you wait." He's not a waiter, and that's his sketchbook. My friend, bless his soul, finally found his voice and strode over, his face etched with fury. He reached out and, with a swift, firm motion, plucked the sketchbook right out of her grasp and handed it back to me. "It's his, not yours. You have no right." Just then, an actual waiter who'd clearly seen the whole thing unfold hurried away and returned a moment later with the manager. The manager, a tired-looking but professional guy, quickly diffused the immediate physical confrontation, ushering the screaming lady and her resigned husband to a quieter corner. We could still hear her indignant squawks about being assaulted and pushed, and how unprofessional I was. After a few minutes of her caterwauling, the manager came back to our table looking utterly drained. He apologized profusely, offered us a complimentary meal, but honestly, the appetite was gone. The whole vibe was ruined. I just wanted out. We politely declined and decided to cut our losses. As we were heading for the door, the lady, still fuming at her table, spotted us leaving. She leaped up, her face a mask of outrage, and shrieked at the top of her lungs. "He pushed me! He pushed me!" My friend and I exchanged a look. Then a genuinely uncontrollable laugh bubbled out of me. The absurdity of it all, the entitlement, the complete disconnect from reality. It was just too much. I never did get that deluxe burger combo, but honestly, the story of this absolute Karen was almost as fulfilling. Almost. Don't let anyone tell you people aren't wild out there, folks. Stay safe, stay sane, and for the love of all that is holy, don't wear a white shirt and jeans to a casual restaurant if you want to eat in peace.
Excuse me? You get over here right now. The demand ripped through the already buzzing grocery store, cutting straight through my headphones and into my soul. I swear, the way he bellowed, you'd think I'd just stolen his last carton of oat milk. I pulled an earbud out, turning to face the source of the noise, which was, predictably, some guy who looked like he'd ironed his ego this morning. He was sporting a crisp, expensive-looking polo shirt, loafers polished to a blinding sheen, and a sneer that clearly cost extra. "Can I help you?" I asked, because, well, I'm Canadian, and even when someone's being a jerk, my default setting is polite. He strutted up to me, puffing out his chest. "Yes, you can. I've been standing here for ages. Where are the artisanal, organic, gluten-free sourdough crackers? The ones with the rosemary and sea salt?" "Don't tell me you're out again." He squinted, as if my face was personally responsible for the cracker inventory. I blinked. Sir, I don't actually work here." I gestured vaguely at my t-shirt, an old band tee, and my jeans. No uniform, no name tag, no nothing. He just scoffed, a truly magnificent sound that conveyed pure, unadulterated disdain. "Don't play dumb with me, kid. You're standing in the aisle, looking like you're about to stock shelves. Now, stop wasting my time and tell me where they are." He even pointed a manicured finger at the empty reusable shopping bag I was holding. Apparently, holding a bag meant I was on the clock. A smirk tugged at my lips. This guy was a piece of work. Look, I really don't work here. I'm just trying to find some regular, boring, gluten-full pretzels for myself. His face flushed, a truly impressive shade of puce. "This is outrageous. You're employed here. You have a duty to assist customers. I'm a valuable patron and I demand service." He practically shrieked that last part. A few other shoppers were starting to stare, trying to figure out if they should grab popcorn or just back away slowly. "Sir, I assure you, I am not employed here. So, unfortunately, your demands mean absolutely nothing to me." I took a step back, because he was getting a little too close, and frankly, I was enjoying this. His eyes narrowed to slits. "That's it. You're being incredibly rude and unhelpful. I'm going to speak to your manager. You'll be lucky if you still have a job by the end of the day." He jabbed his finger at me again, harder this time. I couldn't help but let out a little laugh. "Good luck with that, pal. You're going to have a hard time getting me fired from a job I don't have." Just as he was sputtering, probably trying to figure out how to form a coherent threat, a familiar voice cut in. "Everything all right over here, Jasper?" I turned to see Mark, the store manager, a man who'd probably seen more entitlement than a royal butler, walking towards us with a weary but amused expression. He and I used to work together years ago, and we still recognized each other when I popped in for groceries. The entitled guy immediately pounced. "Finally, manager, this so-called employee is refusing to help me and has been verbally abusive. I want him disciplined immediately." He gestured wildly at me, practically vibrating with indignation. Mark just leaned against a shelf, crossing his arms. He looked at me, then at the fuming customer, then back at me, a slow grin spreading across his face. "This so-called employee?" he asked, a playful glint in his eye. "You mean Jasper here?" "Yes, Jasper! He needs to learn some customer service!" Mark chuckled, shaking his head. "Well, sir, that's going to be a little difficult, seeing as Jasper hasn't actually worked here in over 3 years. He paused, letting that sink in. "He's just doing his own shopping, same as you." The entitled guy's jaw went slack. The puce in his face deepened to a full-on beet red. He looked at me, then at Mark, then at my very non-uniform-like band t-shirt, and then back at the manager. The reality finally hit him, like a stale baguette to the face. Mark winked at me. Still causing trouble, eh, Jasper? It was an old joke between us. I just grinned. Only when provoked, boss. Only when provoked. The entitled customer, realizing he'd just made a complete fool of himself in front of an actual manager and a small audience, stammered out some incoherent mumble about mistake and sorry, then practically power-walked out of the store, his polished loafers squeaking on the linoleum. Mark just sighed, pushing off the shelf. Some people, right? Some people, I agreed, a deeply satisfying warmth spreading through me. At least he knows now, hopefully. I put my earbud back in, the sweet sound of victory playing on repeat.
This one fits right in with what you just saw.